is very important for everybody, how we make decision or how managers make decision in their organization. Dear listeners, the topics we are going to discuss today under decision making are: what is decision, the decision making process, the 8 steps in the decision making process, diagram showing decision making process. Dear listeners, now let us come to the first topic, and that is, what is decision? What is a decision? Now, decision is a process of making the choice or selection of the best alternative. You may have many alternatives for solving your problems, but every alternative may not be good enough to solve the problem. Therefore, you need to select the best alternative, and this selection is called decision making. Top level managers make decisions regarding the goals of the organizations, while middle and lower level managers make decisions relating to the work schedules, the pay raises, or employee disciplines, or production quality, etc. Now, dear students, now let us see the decision making process. In an ideal decision making process, there are 8 steps involved. The steps are: identifying a problem, identifying decision criteria, allocating weights to the criteria, developing alternatives, analyzing alternatives, selecting an alternative, implementing the alternative, and evaluating decision effectiveness. So, dear listeners, now let us see each step of decision making process in detail. The first step is identification of the problem. Now, we need to know what is a problem. Problem is the difference between the expected position and the actual position. Where we want to go, that is our problem, and it will be a problem for the manager when it will be recognized in him. If it is not recognized, or if he or she doesn't know it, then it will not be a problem. For example, manager may have a problem to replace the old computers with the new computers. Now, step 2, identifying decision criteria. Now, manager will have to identify the criteria based on which he or she will make decision. These criteria may be concerned with the cost, may be concerned with the size or risk or other factors. These factors or criteria should be identified by the manager based on which he or she is going to make the decision. The next step is, the third step, allocating weights to the criteria. Each and every criteria may not be equally important to the manager. For example, cost may not be equally important to the manager as size of the computer. Therefore, manager has to give the weight on the criteria he or she has identified. Which criteria is most important to him, which criteria is least important to him, these are to be identified. Next step is developing alternative. Manager may have different alternatives, but he may not know what are those alternatives. So, he has to identify those alternatives. As in our previous example, we identified that manager needs to replace old computers with the new computers. Now, alternatives here are, what are the different companies which are producing and selling computers. So those companies are to be identified. Those are the alternatives in front of the manager, and manager will have to buy from one company. Next step is analyzing alternatives. According to our example, we need to buy new computers. These computers may be supplied by Toshiba or by Apple. Now, manager will have to analyze on the basis of the criteria and the weights he or she has given on the criteria and identify which one is more preferable to him or her. Next step is selecting the best alternative. On the basis of analysis, manager will be able to identify which alternative carries more important to manager. On the basis of the importance or on the basis of the points he has given in the criteria identified by him, he or she will select the best one, or the highest scored one will be selected by the manager because it is the best one to him. Next step is implementing the alternative. Only selection or only selecting the best alternative is not enough. Manager will have to take initiative to buy it. Manager may need to go there, manager may need to pay for it, and that is called implementation or implementing the alternatives. And the last step of decision making process is the evaluation of decision's effectiveness. After implementation or after buying, manager may find that the decision was wrong. That is called effectiveness after buying behavior or effectiveness of the alternative, or manager may find that the decision was correct. That is the evaluation of the effectiveness, and this evaluation may not be used for this particular purpose, but this experience, evaluation experience, may be used in future for buying another computer or new computer for his or her office. Dear students and learners, these 8 steps of decision making process also can be shown by using a diagram. The diagram shows identification of a problem, identification of decision criteria, allocation of weights to criteria, development of alternatives, analysis of alternatives, selection of an alternative, implementation of the alternative, and evaluation of decision effectiveness. Dear students and learners, now let us come to the next topic of today's discussion. The topic is managers make decisions. Managers make decision, this is obvious truth. But when they make decision, they face some dilemma, and those dilemma are rationality, bounded rationality, and the role of intuition. Now, making decisions under rationality, manager definitely will be rational in making decision, but in make it rational, manager has to make his decision logical, and it must maximize the value. Now, let us see some assumptions of rationality. The problem is clear and unambiguous. A single well-defined goal is to be achieved. All alternatives and consequences are known. Preferences are clear. Preferences are constant and stable. No time or cost constraints exist, and final choice will maximize payoff. Now, let us know how manager becomes rational when he or she performs his managerial functions. That means planning, organizing, leading or controlling. In making plan, manager becomes rational by asking some questions. The questions are: what are the organization's long-term objectives? What strategies will best achieve those objectives? What should the organization's short-term objectives be? And how difficult should individual goals be? In performing organizing function of management, manager asks some questions to himself for making his organizing function rational. Let us see the questions. How many employees should I have report directly to me? How much centralization should there be in the organization? How should jobs be designed? And when should the organization implement a different structure? In performing leading function, manager again will ask some questions to him to make his leading function rational. Let us see those questions. How do I handle employees who appear to be low in motivation? What is the most effective leadership style in a given situation? How will a specific change affect worker productivity? And when is the right time to stimulate conflict? Last management function, controlling, manager will also ask some questions to him to make his controlling function rational. The questions are: what activities in the organization need to be controlled? How should those activities be controlled? When is a performance deviation significant? And what type of management information system should the organization have? By asking these questions to him, a manager can make his management functions rational. Now let us see the next aspect of decision making, and that is bounded rationality. Manager may not have the all information and knowledge about the all alternatives. That means manager has some limitations in obtaining information, in analyzing information, and also in selecting alternatives. However, manager has to be fixed somewhere, or manager has to make decisions with these constraints. Therefore, we see manager usually follows satisfying criteria or good enough criteria. When manager finds that the alternatives he analyzed, the information he collected, all are enough in his judgment, then he makes decision, and that can satisfy him or her. That is why bounded rationality means manager must make decision, but it may not be 100% perfect because of some limitations. So manager has to make decisions under this bounded rationality situation. Manager's decision is also likely to influence by organizational culture or work practice or internal politics or power consideration or a kind of phenomena called escalation to commitment. Now let us see what is escalation to commitment. An increasing or continued commitment to a previous decision despite evidence that the decision may have been wrong. They don't want to admit that their decision was wrong. Rather than search for new alternatives, they increase their commitment to the original solution. For example, facts in the Challenger Space Shuttle disaster on January 28, 1986 indicate and escalation of commitment by decision makers or managers to launch the shuttle even though the decision was questioned by others. When manager makes decision, his decision is also induced by intuition. That means there is an important role of intuition on decision making. Now let us discuss what is an intuition. Intuition means when decision is made only on the basis of manager's experience or feelings and emotions or accumulated judgment. This is called intuition or intuitive decision making. Now let us see the salient characteristics of the concept intuition. Experience based decisions, affect initiated decisions, cognitive based decisions, subconscious mental processing, and values or ethics based decisions. Dear students and learners, today we have learned decision making, and we learned what is a decision and the process of making decision. We learned 8 steps of decision making process. We also learned managers make decisions under different situations like rationality, bounded rationality, and intuition. Dear students, I hope that the topics we discussed today are very clear to you, and see you in next class. Thank you.
Hello dear learners, how are you? I hope you are fine. You are most welcome to today's program of Bangladesh Open University. Before starting my today's lecture, let me introduce myself. I am Mohammad Tariqul Islam, faculty member, School of Business, Bangladesh Open University. Dear learners of regular MBA and Commonwealth Executive MBA and MPA programs, you are most welcome to today's lecture session on MBA 1302 Principles of Marketing Unit 2. Today I will discuss some important topics. These are the definition of strategic planning and the strategic planning process. Hence, there are some learning objectives. After completing this today's lecture session, you will be able to define the term strategic planning. Side by side, you can also understand the strategic planning process. Dear learner, first we have to know what is plan. Plan is a mental picture of a future course of action. Normally, companies takes 3 types of plan. First one is annual plan, second long run plan, and third strategic plan. Dear learner, now I actually want to discuss about what is strategic plan. Strategic plan is the process of maintaining and developing strategic fit between the organization goals and capabilities, and strategic plan helps the firm to adapt the advantages of opportunities in a changing environment. Now I will actually discuss about the strategic planning process. Strategic planning process depends on the defining the company's mission and setting the company's objectives. Side by side, it is also related with the designing the company's current business portfolio and coordinating the functional strategies. Dear learner, now we will see the figure. In this figure actually shows the steps in the strategic planning process. This process actually starts from the defining the company's mission, setting the company's objectives and goals, then designing the business portfolio, and then planning, marketing and other functional strategies. Dear learners, now I actually discuss about the first steps of strategic planning process. The first step is defining the company's mission. Mission statement described what it wants to accomplish in larger environment. Normally, mission statement involves actually market orientation activities, and the market oriented mission statement normally focus on the customer actual needs. Dear learners, in case of defining the mission statement, normally manager consider two important factors. First, product oriented definition and market oriented definition. Now, I will discuss some companies of product oriented definition and market oriented definition. Now, we will see that following table. This table indicate product oriented versus market oriented definition. The company Revlon, which product oriented definition is we make cosmetics. On the other hand, the market oriented definition is we sell lifestyle and self expression, success and status, memories, hopes and dreams. And another company Disney, which product oriented definition is we run theme parks, and the market oriented definition of the company is we provide fantasies and entertainment, a place where America still works the way it is proposed to. And another company Walmart, which product oriented definition is we run discount stores, and on the other hand this company's market oriented definition is we offer products and services that deliver value to middle Americans. Dear learner, in designing the mission statement, the management should focus on some important factors. First one is mission should not be too narrow or too broad, and mission should be realistic and very much specific, and mission should be compatible with environment. The second steps of strategic planning process is setting the company's goals and objectives. After defining the mission of the companies, the manager must have to translate the mission with the company's goals and objectives. And in case of setting company's goals and objectives, the manager must consider two important things. First one is mission, side by side objectives. These two terms have some similarities, and sometimes we think that these two terms is the same things. It is not right, because as for example, we can say Jamuna Fertilizer Company is a producing and marketing company. This company actually produce fertilizer and marketing this fertilizer. Whenever we decide that we will set the mission of this fertilizer company, it should not be to produce the fertilizer. The mission of this Jamuna's Fertilizer Company should be to increase the agricultural productivity. In short, we can say mission actually covers a broad area and on the other hand objectives or goals actually covers in short area, and normally mission actually covers the goals side by side the objectives of the companies. Dear learners, the third steps of strategic planning process is designing the business portfolio. Dear learners, normally we have to know what is business portfolio. Business portfolio is the collection of company's business and products that the company constitute. The best business portfolio actually best fit with the company's strength and weakness. Dear learners, in case of business portfolio, the manager must have to consider two important things. First one is consider its existing business portfolio and decide which business should get more less investment, and second is formulate growth strategies. Now designing the strategic planning, manager should focus on current business portfolio. The major task of strategic planning process to analyze the current business portfolio. The current business portfolio is the tools that identify and evaluate the business wings, and current business portfolio actually indicates some key business which actually called strategic business unit. Strategic business unit is a unit that actually focus on the company's separate missions and objectives, and strategic business units may be a company division or a product of the company's product line, or it may be a individual product or brand. Dear learners, portfolio analysis method assess SBUs from two point of view. These are the attractiveness of the SBUs market or industry, and second the strength of the SBUs position in the market. The most popular portfolio planning method were developed by Boston Consulting Group approach. Now I will discuss about the Boston Consulting Group approach. By using this approach, the company's portfolio can be classified into four categories or four SBUs. This is first one is stars, second cash cows, third question marks, and fourth dogs. Dear learners, now we will see the figure which actually shows the Boston Consulting Group approach. In this approach, there are four business portfolio. First one is stars, second cash cows, third question mark, and fourth dog. The horizontal axis shows relative market share and the vertical axis shows market growth rate. Dear learners, actually the relative market share actually indicates the strength of the company. On the other hand, the market growth rate actually indicates the attractiveness of the company. Dear learners, in this figure we can see that the stars are high market growth rate and high relative market share. This company actually invest more money for sustain in a competitive market, because whenever a company is a star, he have to face lots of competition and he have to face lots of new competitors, and for sustaining in the existing market the company have to invest more money. Dear learners, the second business portfolio is cash cows. In case of cash cows, we can see cash cows are high relative market share and low market growth rate, and in case of cash cows it actually earn lots of money, and by this money company can sustain others business portfolio. If the company can create new strategy for the cash cows for improving the market growth rate, then the cash cows can turn into the stars. And the third business portfolio is question marks. In the question marks, we can see the question marks are high market growth rate and low relative market share. The company have to invest more money for sustains such types of business portfolio. If the company can improve the marketing strategy and side by side company can invest more money, then the question marks can be turned into the stars. And the fourth business portfolio is dogs. Whenever the company generate such types of business portfolio, the company invest a lot of money and company have to decide this portfolio is suitable for the company or not. Normally company try to reduce such types of business portfolio because this dog cannot create any sort of profit for the company. For this reason company try to remove such types of business portfolio. Dear learner, now I actually discuss about the strategies that are taken by the manager in case of this 4 SBU. We see in case of stars, this is actually high market growth rate and high relative market share. In this situation, the company always try to hold the market share and company have to face a lots of competition in the market. In case of cash cows, we can see the relative market share is high and the market growth rate is low, and in this situation company uses the harvesting strategy. Company try to collect money as far as possible from the market. And the third SBU is question marks. In this question marks we can see the market growth rate is high and the relative market share is low. In this situation the marketeer apply the building strategy or the retention strategy. In this situation marketeer can invest more money to sustain such types of SBU, and the manager try to turn into these question marks in stars. And the last SBU is dogs. What type of strategy actually followed by the marketeer? In case of dogs, company normally have to invest money for these dogs, and in case of dogs company does not earn any sort of profit from the market. He have to spend more money for sustain such types of SBUs. In this situation company try to implement the divesting strategy, or company try to cut out the company, or company try to remove such types of SBU. It is suitable for the company because in this situation the company have not invest more money for holding such types of SBU like dogs. Dear learners, after designing the business portfolio, company must focus on the planning of functional strategies. In case of planning the functional strategies, company focus on some functional departments like finance, marketing, accounting, human resource, etc. And company set the strategies for the each department. In case of marketing, company can apply marketing philosophy, product philosophy, selling philosophy, etc. and have to consider the needs and wants of the customers. Dear learners, this is all about today. At last I conclude that whenever a manager wants to set a strategic planning, or whenever a manager wants to develop a strategic plan in his company or organization, he must have to consider the strategic planning process and the steps. First one is defining the company's vision, second setting the company's goals and objectives, third designing the business portfolio, and fourth planning, marketing and other functional strategies. Dear learners, I hope and believe that you have a clear understanding about these topics, and I request all the learners just go through your textbook. If you have any sort of query or if you have any sort of question, just write to the Dean, School of Business, Bangladesh Open University, Gazipur 1705. This is all about today. Thanks to all.
Dear learners of BBA and MBA programs and their viewers, how are you? Hope you are keeping well and ready with necessary papers and pen. If not, I request you to bring some blank pages and a pen now and keep them with you so that you can jot down the important parts of the program during broadcast. Learners, let's know what topics we will discuss today. Today, we will discuss the basics of adjusting entities, the types of adjusting entities and the passing of adjusting journal entries from your textbook Financial Accounting or Principles of Accounting. First of all, the basics of adjusting entities. Adjusting entities are journal entries which are made at the end of the accounting period to ensure that revenues are recognized in the period in which they are earned, expenses are recorded in the period in which they are incurred, so that the balance sheet and income statement accounts have correct balances. As per actual basis, adjusting journal entries make it possible to report correct or up-to-date amounts on the balance sheet and on the income statement. The trial balance we prepare after journalizing and posting may not contain up-to-date or complete data. This is so because there are some events that are not recorded daily, even they can be recorded so. For example, the daily use of supplies or stationery like paper, pen, envelope, baskets, rubber, etc., or the earnings of wages by the employees. And there are some costs which are not recorded during the accounting period because they expire with the passage of time rather than as a daily use. Examples are rent, insurance, etc. And there are also some items that may not be recorded. An example is a utility like gas, electricity or water bill that the company will not receive until the next accounting period. Adjusting journal entries must be made when the financial statements are prepared. Thus, if the financial statements are prepared monthly, adjusting entries are required to made monthly, though by custom the financial reports are made annually. Learners, now we will discuss the types of adjusting entries. Adjusting entries can be classified as either prepayments or accruals. Prepayments consist of prepaid expenses and unearned revenue. Accruals on the other hand comprise of accrued revenues and accrued expenses. Learners, let's discuss these adjusting entries one by one with examples. First of all, adjusting entries for prepayments. Adjusting entries for prepayments are made to report the portion of the prepayment that represents the expense incurred or the revenues earned during the accounting period. I mentioned earlier, prepayments can be of prepaid expenses or unearned revenue. First of all, prepaid expenses. Prepaid expenses are expenses which are paid in advance and recorded as assets. Why are they called prepaid? Because the benefits of this prepayment will accrue for more than the current accounting period. The examples of most common prepaid expenses are advertising, supplies, rent, etc. or the purchase of fixed assets like buildings, equipment, furniture, machinery, etc. are also a sort of advance payment. Prepaid expenses are costs that expire either with the passage of time like interest and rent or through use or consumptions such as supplies. The expiration of this cost does not require daily transactions. Companies postpone recognizing this cost until they prepare financial statements. At each statement date, organizations make adjusting entries to record the expired cost or expenses that apply to the current accounting period and to record the unexpired cost in the asset account. And the journal entry for the prepaid expense is expense account debit and asset account credit. For this adjustment, the expense or income statement account is increased and the asset or balance sheet account is decreased. If the adjustment for this prepayment is not made, the assets will be overstated and the expense will be understated. Learners, let's look in more details at some specific types of prepaid expense, beginning with supplies. Businesses use various types of supplies. For example, a CA firm may use office supplies like stationeries, envelopes and accounting paper. An advertising firm may use advertising supplies like graph paper, video film, poster paper, etc. Companies normally debit the supplies in the asset account when they acquire them. In the course of operations, supplies are used, but companies postpone recognize their use until the adjustment process. At the end of the accounting period, companies physically count the remaining supplies, and the difference between the supplies shown in the trial balance and the supplies on hand represents the supplies used or expense for the period. Suppose on October 5, Nahid Advertising Agency purchased advertising supplies at a cost of Taka 25,000, and Nahid recorded these transactions by debiting the asset supplies by Taka 25,000, and the October 31st trial balance also shows this amount of Taka 25,000. An inventory count at the end of the accounting period, that is October 31st, shows that only 10,000 of supplies are still on hand. So, the remaining balance of Taka 15,000, that is Taka 25,000 minus the 10,000 is expired or used. So, the advertising expense will be Taka 15,000. For this sense, Nahid makes adjusting entries as you see in the screen. Advertising supplies expense debit Taka 15,000 and advertising supplies credit Taka 15,000. This is due to the expiration of or use of the assets supplies, and here the expense or income statement account is increased and debited, and the asset advertising supplies is decreased and credited. If the adjusting entry for this prepayment is not made, then the expense will be understated and the net income will be overstated in the income statement by Taka 15,000, and both the assets and owner's equity will be overstated by Taka 15,000 in the October 31st balance sheet. Let us discuss the adjustment for prepaid with another example of insurance. Companies pay insurance premium in advance for the losses due to fire, theft or unforeseen events. For this prepayment or advance payment, the prepaid insurance is normally debited, and at the end of the accounting period it is credited for the amount expired, and then the insurance expense is debited. Suppose on October 4, Nahid Advertising Agency paid Taka 6,000 for a 1-year insurance policy. The policy coverage began on October 1. Nahid recorded this payment by debiting the prepaid insurance, and the October 31st trial balance also shows this amount of Taka 6,000. But during the period of October, the insurance of Taka 500, that is 6,000 divided by 12 for 1 month, has been expired. So, Nahid makes adjusting entry for this sense, as you see in the screen. Insurance expense debit Taka 500 and